Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Bradburn. Alongside me is Logan Camden, and we are officially on the eve of the NBA season getting started, Logan. We've already previewed every single team season. We've already answered 5 big NBA questions before the year gets started with our friend Jason Timp. We've already given our NBA preseason takeaways, and if you haven't checked out all of those episodes, please feel free to do so. But that leaves us, Logan, with one box left to check, doesn't it? We've got to make our official award predictions. We have got to finalize our standings predictions. And we have got to make our official playoff predictions and name our NBA champion today. Are you ready, buddy? Are you ready to rumble?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Hell yeah. Let's start with awards. And let's start with the big one. Who is your pick for MVP this year, Logan?
I am picking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to go back-to-back with this award. I have the Thunder finishing as my number 1 seed in the Western Conference, and when I look at the standings, I think that's a pretty big prerequisite that you're a top seed. Cleveland, I think, just has too much of a established hierarchy where I wouldn't see Mitchell or Mobley getting the award or something like that. I look at some of the other high seeds, Brunson, Cat, KD. I think, for me, it's boring. I think the most two likely to be at the top for this award are probably SGA and Jokic once more. I was going to take one of the two. I feel like Shai just has a slightly better chance to repeat because the Thunder, that elite defense, I think, is going to give them a super high floor. And then I think Shai is just a phenomenal player who is going to get basically 30 points every single night. I think they're going to win 60 games, and I think that should be enough for SGA to go back-to-back.
It definitely feels like a 2-horse race going into the year, which is what it was last year. I just don't see anybody out there who can reach the same heights of individual dominance with the sort of elite team success that I'm expecting from Shai and Jokic. They were a class above everybody else there last year, and I think that'll be the case again this year. I'm going to go with Jokic, though. I picked Shai before the year, last year, and he was ultimately my MVP pick when all was said and done as well, although it was extremely, extremely close. But on average, it feels like Jokic is the safer pick to me. He is the best player in the world. He did just average 30, 13, and 10 on 66% true shooting and had his 3rd straight season with like at least a plus 20 on-off differential, which we've never seen from anybody else in the history of the game. So obviously, he's the best offensive player alive, I would say, ever. The impact numbers are absolutely ridiculous. The box score production and efficiency is literally one of a kind in NBA history. So when you pair that with a team that I think is going to win 58 games because the roster around him is so improved, it just is very difficult for me to pick anybody else. Last year, there were more issues with the roster. The team success wasn't as elite. And also, although Jokic had his best offensive regular season ever, and the three-point shooting was better than ever, and the scoring volume was greater than ever, he also did have some lapses defensively, as did the Nuggets team as a whole. I just think they're going to be more engaged and they're going to be more consistently elite end-to-end this year. And if that's the case, Jokic makes a pretty airtight argument. I do still think the Thunder will be the better team. I have them winning 64 games. But I don't know that there are going to be really any holes whatsoever to pick in Jokic's case. And I think Shai is going to be amazing, but I also don't know if he'll quite have like the same insanely compelling stuff as last year, where like he went on the ridiculous run without Chet, where he was averaging like almost 35 points per game on insane efficiency, and they were winning like 85+% of their games. Some of the stuff that he did going undefeated without J-Dub. Overall, just leading the team to like a 127 offensive rating with J-Dub off the court. He is capable of all of those things. He could do that again. But a lot of circumstances did come together with the Thunder winning 68 games for that to be like the A++ version of a Shai MVP case. I just think Jokic's argument year over year is more consistent, especially when he does have a team around him that I think is going to win close to 60 games. Like pretty much going into every year, I think Jokic kind of has to be the favorite, and that feels like the case this year as much as ever because I think this is going to be their best regular season team.
Yeah, I can't push back a ton. I mean, I think that Jokic is going to have a really good opportunity this year, and if the bench doesn't shit their pants, I think there's a pretty good opportunity that they win close to 60 games. I think he's going to have to hit that threshold, like 50, 55, 56. I don't know what exactly it is because OKC is obviously going to have the team, winning component. So I think he has to hit like a certain benchmark, but I think if he does, he should have a real case. Is there anybody else like that you think that has a legitimate outside chance at MVP?
It's hard for me to view anyone else as a legit candidate just because these two just had like the best two-man MVP race ever, and they were so far head and shoulders above the pack there. In a vast majority of years, either one of those guys wins MVP with the cases they made last year. They both made A-plus cases. It just so happens that only one of them could take home the award. This year, I think that they are both going to replicate a vast majority of all of their excellence and successes from last year, and I think they're going to both make exceptional cases again, like what Shai did last year, being this incredible offensive engine with legitimately historic combinations of scoring volume and efficiency, being such a hugely positive influence in the possession battle, leading this OKC team that was lacking consistent creation around him to be such an elite half-court offense, allowing them to build this super defensively slanted roster because he could pick up so much slack on offense and he was going to be a positive contributor to this dominant defense. And they won 68 games. Like, it's one of the great guard regular seasons that we've ever seen. And yet I think so much of that he can replicate. It's just going to be really hard for Shai to make an even better version of his case. And even with this like A++ season he had last year, he still eked it out over Jokic when his team only won 50 games, when he wasn't up to his normal level defensively. And I just think if you shrink that gap in team success from like 18 wins, which is what it was last year, to like 5-6 wins, it's just the Jokic factor and him being at one of the 10 greatest peaks we've seen in the history of this game. Like, Shai could make an A+ MVP case again and lose because Jokic is playing at that ridiculously high a level. And now he's also going to have the elite team success to go with it. And obviously, Shai could totally win again. I think it's going to be a close MVP race. I'm just making my prediction, and that is Jokic. But in terms of other guys, I just don't see it. Giannis's Bucks are not going to have the team success. Their roster sucks. And for Luka, I would flag the exact same concern. LeBron's going to be out early in the year. That team defense is just bad. And regardless, I think that Shai and Jokic are the two best players on the planet right now. I think that they are going to lead two of the best teams in basketball. I think both of their impact metrics are going to be nuts. So, no, I'd have to be reaching to even say that anybody else is really going to firmly figure into the conversation with them. Wemby could take this leap, and you can never write anything off with him. But even if he gets to the level of a Shai or Jokic this year, which is a long shot, he still wouldn't be able to have the team success component that they do because the roster around him just isn't nearly as good. So I just don't see the dark horse out there this year. I think it's a two-man race. How about Defensive Player of the Year, Logan? Who's your pick?
Yeah, if he stays healthy, I think this is a one-horse race. This is going to be the first of 15 Defensive Player of the Year awards for Victor Wembanyama. He is a one-man defense. You know, you can kind of get tired of us saying it, but he's a freak of nature. 7'4", 8-foot wingspan, can just change defense in a way that nobody else can. And I mean, with what we're seeing from Wemby with some of this added strength, I'm super excited, man. Like, he looks even bigger. He looks confident. He's moving guys around like he's pushing sleds, man. I'm really pumped to see Wemby this year. I hope he can stay healthy, and I think he will be a runaway candidate to win this award. I mean, he improved the Spurs defense by, I believe, 10 points per 100 possessions last season. On the outside looking in, like, I think there are some very good candidates. They're the guys that we mention all the time. I think Chet Holmgren, Evan Mobley, right, if Wemby somehow loses footing, if he ends up getting injured again, I think are really good choices to win this award. But if Wemby stays healthy, I got to think he takes this home. And he is one of the greatest defensive players I've ever seen.
I'm going to go with Wemby here. He does feel like the guy who should pretty much be the presumptive favorite going into the year for Defensive Player of the Year just about every time. Other people will win the award, but you're never going to look at the race going into the year and say, yeah, I expect that guy to win it over Wemby. Last year, preseason, I did get cheeky. I picked Chet. I actually think there's a chance that that would have worked out had he stayed healthy because OKC was so historically dominant defensively, and Chet was defending at a ridiculous individual level, and he would have been the guy getting the most credit for that. They ended up putting together a historic defense, even with him only playing like 30 regular season games. But Although I think Chet is definitely going to be the strongest contender up against Wemby for this award, I still do believe that Wemby is the most impactful individual defensive player. I think that his box score defensively is going to be ludicrous. I mean, we've already seen him averaging close to 4 blocks a game and over a steal a game, but also the impact you mentioned, the 9-point defensive rating on off swing for his team when he's on the court. Massive, absolute game changer there. Can elevate a subpar supporting cast defensively and make them a pretty good group on that side of the ball. He's the most impactful rim protector and deterrent in basketball right now. Held opposing players 13% below their typical field goal percentage at the rim. He's got this monstrous defensive rebounding value. The Spurs are going to be a good defense because of Victor Wembanyama. They are going to be a bad defense when he's off the floor. And I can see the argument that it's like, yeah, Chet is a top 2 defender on the planet, and he's doing this for this utterly dominant team defense. But at the end of the day, I'm just most comfortable with saying who's the best defensive player in the league. That's going to be Victor Wembanyama, barring a surprise. I mean, he could even be a little bit better. He could even be a little bit smarter defensively this year. He is looking even a little bit stronger and maybe is even a little bit more excellent as a post defender and absorbing contact as a rim protector there. And I already thought he was the best defender in the league when he was healthy last year. Rookie of the year, Logan. Who you got?
I'm actually going to get a little cheeky, I think, with this pick, Carson. I'm going to go with Ace Bailey to win this award. Yeah. Now, I want to be clear about something. The award picks I make today are going to be predictions on who I think is actually going to win the award at the end of the season. At the end of the year, I'm going to make my own picks for who I think deserves the award most. I think Flagg may have more of a winning impact, but I just think Ace Bailey is going to have an opportunity to put up some ridiculous numbers in the situation that he's in. And, you know, it may not be like super efficient stuff rookie year, but I really think Ace could average 17, 18 as a rookie, man. I think the opportunity is on the table. I think they're going to run a lot of offense through him. I think he starts. I just think he's going to get a ton of burn. And I think Cooper's going to have an offensive burden on him as well, but I think Ace is going to have even more opportunity where his stats could just be gaudy and raw. I'm super excited for this. I actually think this is the race I'm most excited for. With Dylan Harper, with Ace, with Cooper. I think it's really, really interesting. So I think Cooper may impact the game more and have more of a just actual winning impact, but I think Ace is going to put up some pretty ridiculous numbers as a rookie.
I'm shocked, Logan. I'm floored. Didn't you have Cooper Flagg 4th in your small forward rankings before he set foot on the NBA court?
Yeah, I did.
And now you're saying that you're going to take
I think Ace
Bailey
is probably going to outscore Cooper as a rookie, yeah.
I think that Coop is going to be significantly better at everything else on the basketball court.
I agree.
And I think that the scoring gap will probably be pretty marginal. I was impressed with Ace in preseason, and I was really liking how they were utilizing him in the Will Hardy offense with him playing, coming off of off-ball screens so much. I thought he was decisive. I thought his footwork was impressive. His shot making at his size is elite. And I thought that he was embracing the role that is going to allow him to best succeed, being this kind of off-ball demon, spot-ups, curling around screens, attacking closeouts at times. He looked really good. At the same time, his value is purely going to be scoring in that way too. He still is very limited as a ball handler. I think that I saw a stat that he had more points than dribbles in a couple of these preseason games, which is great. That's how I want him to play. But you understand that he is not somebody who is going to get past you, who is going to be in an on-ball role. I do think that puts a ceiling on the scoring volume. He is still very limited as a playmaker, and you know that when he gets the ball, for the most part, that shot is going up. And he's not somebody who's going to be able to get to the rim with the ball in his hands. He's had some issues finishing through contact there. I just think it's crazy to expect him, even though he was impressive in preseason, to actually make a better case than Cooper Flagg. I'm genuinely pretty shocked by that. I think that Flagg is as overwhelming a favorite for this award as anybody is for any award preseason. The top 2 biggest favorites on paper have got to be him for this award and Wemby for Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's still pretty much a lock. And even though I do have some questions about his ability to handle a pretty significant ball handling load early in the year, and I do think that we have seen some issues there with him handling under pressure and at times not really looking comfortable getting by people, especially these high-level perimeter defenders, and maybe settling a little bit, being a little bit overly reliant on the pull-up jumper when it comes to his self-creation. The guy is still going to be an A-plus positional rebounder. He is going to be an A-plus rookie defender, highly impactful on the perimeter, and also a damn good secondary rim protector. He has elite passing feel. He's got really good off-ball scoring skills when it comes to his ability to do work as a cutter. I think his catch and shooting has looked good. He's going to be a weapon in transition and is going to be a really good scorer and passer there. So I still think that just because of the all-around scoring skill set that he has, even with some of these on-ball questions, he's probably going to give you 15, 16 points per game, and then he's going to give you 8 boards, 4 assists, really good defense. It's just not a conversation. I think that Coop is a lock. I think that he's going to be really impactful, uniquely impactful for a rookie. Even for a number 1 pick rookie, I think he is so ready to impact the game in so many ways. It's a no-brainer for me.
I think Ace Bailey's getting buckets.
This is crazy. Like, I just genuinely am still trying to wrap my head around this. You're saying that this is your prediction that Ace is going to win, but you don't think Ace is going to be better than Flagg as a rookie, do you?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt in my mind.
So I'm not sure I really get this, because I don't think that we're at a place with NBA discourse where people are, like, looking at points per game and that's all that matters. And Flagg is going to have, like, the hype machine around him.
I think Ace is just going to get a ridiculous amount of buckets his rookie year, bro.
You're saying he's going to score like 17 a game for the 16-win Jazz? That's going to be more compelling than Flagg making a way bigger all-around winning impact for a way better team with maybe slightly less scoring volume?
You don't think it could be close at all?
Not really. Not really.
I
don't know.
Yeah, I think it is going to be close. I think Ace is going to get a ton of burn for Utah, man. I would expect him to play 30 minutes a night.
Flagg is going to play at least that much for Dallas. He is absolutely essential.
I'm just saying, they're
to
both
their entire
going to be on
formula.
the floor a ton, right? That's why.
And one of them is way better.
That's why I kind of omitted Dylan Harper. Like,
I would take VJ Edgecombe over Ace Bailey.
Wow.
I think VJ has been really impressive.
VJ has looked really good. I mean, shout out.
I think Dylan Harper is going to be better. Now, I see what you're saying about opportunity. This is just wild to me. I think that Flagg is so important to tying things together on both sides of the ball for a Dallas team that I do think is going to be legitimately good in a way that the Jazz are going to be probably up there for the worst team in the league. So I'm shocked. I'm floored. I don't know if I've ever been more surprised by a preseason prediction out of you, Logan Camden. What are your expectations for Flagg then? I'm just trying to make sense of this all. Where you had Flagg ranked above like Jaylen Brown and Franz Wagner, and now you're taking Ace Bailey over him for Rookie of the Year.
You're not supposed to point out stuff like that.
My brain is melting. I'm trying to do the math, and it's not computing.
I just think Ace is going to have a bigger scoring output and is going to do it pretty efficiently this year. I mean, that's
we're running in circles. So what are your expectations for Flagg then?
Great defense, connective playmaking, good transition scoring, 15, 7, and 3 maybe.
Okay.
I don't think that's unrealistic. I just think Ace is going to give like 17, 6, and 2.
Oh, Ace Bailey's not getting 2 assists a game.
You don't think he's getting Moses? He can't break the Moses bar?
Ace Bailey is not getting 2 assists.
He's not getting the wow. We're going to be having Moses Malone playmaking conversations at the end of the year, bro. I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic what we've seen from Ace in preseason.
I'm optimistic too, man, but optimistic doesn't mean that you bridge the gap between him and Cooper Flagg, who's just a way better all-around basketball player. But we will definitely agree to disagree on that one. Most improved player, Logan. Who's your pick here?
I went with Benedict Mathurin. This also is kind of interrelated with like an opportunity thing. I'm super excited for him. Obviously, the Pacers' offense as a whole takes a hit, without Halliburton. But I think if I'm looking at one guy who's going to step up and take up some more responsibility, it is Ben Mathurin. Was an elite shooter last year. Has become a really reliable shooter. I've liked some of the pull-up shooting we've seen from him, too. He is one hell of an athlete in the open floor in transition, and I'm hoping that without Hallie, we see him tap into more of some of his half-court offense. Obviously, I think that's where he needs to be better, and I think his efficiency is going to take probably a little bit of a hit this season, too. But I mean, without Hallie last season, granted this is only 7 games, he was giving you 21, 7, and 3 on 58% true shooting. Like, I don't think that 20 points per game is out of the realm of possibility for Mathurin over an entire season. And so, I don't know. He's just the guy that I look at right now that is going to have clearly the most opportunity at his disposal to take an uptick in offensive production. And, Miles Turner is gone too. Like, I just think there's a lot of points to fill back in for Indiana. And when I look across the NBA, to me, he is like the most likely candidate that's going to get that and maybe get up, 6, 7. Damn it, man. Not
Nice,
even
dude.
My bad, bro.
Nice. No, it's going to go viral. It was worth it. I hope it was worth it.
Maybe
Knowing
6
that
or
you
7
ruined
points
our
per game
credibility.
to like 23. I swear I don't do that shit on purpose, man. It's so embarrassing.
Mathurin is a pretty logical pick. Obviously, the opportunity is there just for much more usage in that backcourt for both him and Andrew Nembhard, and I think that Mathurin is clearly the guy with more scoring punch, who's more capable of scoring 20 points per game for you. Personally, I just think he still does need some more refinement as a scorer when it comes to his intermediate scoring. I also think just as a guy who has the ball in his hands more, like his playmaking and overall decision-making still needs to get significantly better. His efficiency without Hallie on the floor this past year was pretty rough. So yes, I think he's going to step up in terms of volume. However, I think the Pacers offense is really going to struggle in Hallie's absence. I think they're going to take a big step back, and I just don't think the efficiency and the all-around impact leap is going to be as big for Mathurin. So I'm not going with him. I really considered my beloved Amen Thompson here. Ultimately, though, I'm going to go with Matas Buzelis, who I have been pushing the hype train for this preseason. And ultimately, this is a difficult award to predict. It's who is going to get better by the most. Like, that's not necessarily something that you can tell until they're actually out there on the court. But Buzelis looks dramatically improved. To me, he looks like the most dramatically improved in the player in the league based on what we've seen so far. And even though he's a second-year player, and historically with this award, you don't want to give it to second-year guys because there's some significant improvement expected there. Like, it's just very natural to take that leap after your rookie season. Nevertheless, if I compare him to Amen, also, like, I don't love giving the award to guys who were super high draft picks, and Buzelis doesn't have that fourth pick pedigree. So ultimately, I'm just going to go with the guy whose leap I'm most confident in, and that's Buzelis. Even with Amen as high as I think the ceiling is for him, and it's so ridiculously high. Like, he already got so much better last year, and I do think he's going to get better again this year, but he's just taking a leap from now a much better place where he was already a top 50 player. And is he going to be refined enough as a ball handler and on-ball creator and improved enough as a shot maker to like have taken a most improved player leap? I absolutely think it's possible. That's why he's my second choice for this award. For the second straight year, by the way, he was my preseason second favorite last year as well. But Buzelis is just a baller. This is a guy who already was impressive last year, especially down the stretch as he got more opportunity, averaged 13 points per game on 59% true shooting as a starter. And he was the most impressive player in preseason to me. This guy was shooting 75% on twos. He was shooting better than 37% from three on volume. He was giving you 16 points per game in just like 22 minutes. His shot has gotten so much better since he was a prospect, and I think he's now a legitimately good three-point shooter. He is now an elite ball handler for his size, 6'10". He's an awesome driver. He's got the body control in the lane. He's got the nifty change in pace. He's got the ability to protect the basketball with his length and has really impressive finishing skill and touch. And this is all in the half court where like now I think he's so much more of a weapon both on and off ball, with the shooting improvement and the ball handling and overall on-ball creation improvement. And then in the full court, he's going to be an elite transition scorer, either as your ball handler or filling the lane, catching lobs. He's just a hell of an athlete up and down the court. And he's got good feel. He's a good defender. He's a really good shot blocking forward. Like, I'm just all in with Buzelis, and I think that we're going to see a significant leap this year. I think he could be a guy who's giving you, I don't know exactly where to put it, but maybe 17 points per game, 7+ boards, a couple assists very efficiently in an impactful way. And He'll probably be the Bulls' best player this year when it comes to actual impact, and he's certainly the guy who I value most long-term in that franchise.
Why did you break your normal, second-year guy rule for Buzelis?
Because there's no other candidate who I liked more out there. And at the end of the day, I know that most improved player, you're probably not going to pick correctly. Now, it's been done before. Actually, a couple years ago, I did correctly predict that Maxey was going to win the award. But that's not usually how it goes. So like I said, I'm just going with the guy whose improvement I'm most confident in, whose improvement I have already seen the most, and whose skill set I really like, who I'm bought in on as a player. So that's why I'm going with Buzelis. How about sixth man of the year, Logan? Who's your pick?
Naz Reid.
2 words.
Yeah, I look across the league. There's a lot of good six men that I like. I like Dre for the Cavs. I figure he'll start, honestly. I figure maybe they'll run like Strus or something when they're back fully healthy with him off the bench. I don't know. I know what Naz is going to be off the bench for this team. I know he doesn't have an opportunity at starting for them. I know that he's going to be a 40% shooter from everywhere around the arc. He brings a bunch of offensive punch. He's just the guy that I'm most confident in right now. There's not really anybody else that sticks out where I go, yeah, he's going to have a more pronounced impact than Naz Reid is this year. So I think it's his award. Maybe I did like the Grizzlies picking up Ty Jerome. And I thought about Norman Powell. Norman Powell was the other guy that I looked at where I was like, man, he could really have a pronounced impact off the Miami bench and maybe take it, filling in for Hero. But I'm going to roll with Naz, but there's some good options.
I've got 2 words for you, Logan. Malik.
No!
Monk. The king is back.
Are they really going to bring him off the bench? I didn't pick Malik because I would start Malik.
I think they're going to start Schroeder.
What?
They're the Sacramento Kings, dude.
Malik's
This is what
better.
they do. Yeah, Malik's absolutely better, but I got no problem with Malik going back to absolutely cooking, barbecuing, and flambeing bench units. He is electric. And when he is in the role of sixth man, he's the best in the sport. He should have won sixth man of the year, in my opinion, in 2024.
Dude, he's 15-5 consistently off the bench, bro. That's crazy.
You want me to be inflammatory, Logan? I'll give you a hot take.
Yeah,
Malik Monk is one
yeah.
of the best sixth men that we've ever seen when he's in that role.
Tell
and I'll
him.
tell you why he is significantly better than a Jordan Clarkson of recent years. I'll tell you why he's a better offensive player than a Jamal Crawford. The playmaking is the difference.
Yeah.
For years, the philosophy with sixth man of the year was just kind of okay, who's scoring the most points per game off the bench? We don't care about the efficiency. We don't care about the passing. All these guys are going to suck defensively. We just want the guy who's giving us the most buckets. Malik is a legitimate scoring weapon, but in terms of his athleticism and his ability to create for others, that's where he separates. He's a legitimate downhill weapon, and he's a real plus passer. So he's this guy who can be a really good pull-up shooter, who can be a really good shooter off the catch, but he's also somebody who's going to generate a shit ton of paint touches, and he's somebody who is creative as a passer. I mean, some of the wraparounds that he makes, some of the laydown passes, his feel with his bigs, his vision. He's a really impressive passer. So that's what sets him apart. The fact that he is an actual guy who's creating a high value 5-6 assists per game for his teammates. That's not something that we have seen from many sixth men whatsoever in NBA history. And so when I think about a guy who's an offensive engine for a bench unit, he's better than all of the other options. So I'm going with Malik. He's my love. I don't know why the Golden State Warriors turned him down for Jonathan Kuminga and a protected first-round pick the Warriors would have been getting. It will baffle me until probably the end of my days.
I'm only flipping Kuminga for LeBron, personally. Maybe Wemby. Maybe if they offered Wemby, I could do it.
Yeah, well, I guess I forgot that Kuminga says he's going to be a star. And if he says he's going to be a great, big, shining star, he wouldn't lie.
Jonathan Kuminga reminds me of Bruno Caboclo.
2 years away from being 2 years away.
Mm-hmm. He's going to get there, though.
Well, Malik Monk is there right now. And Malik Monk, a bench creator of that caliber, a ball handler of that caliber with the Warriors, Logan, they'd be a freaking contender, a legit contender. But I have to put that aside here. I have to forget about it, and I have to just say Malik Monk is nice as fuck.
Type.
and he's the best sixth man in basketball. Nas is a great choice. I mean, 2024, it came down to those two, and I don't think you can go wrong with either one. He's Nas Reed. That's all that needs to be said. How about Coach of the Year, Logan? Who do you got?
I don't really feel passionately about either of the guys I wrote down. I went with Mike Brown because I think he's a pretty no-brainer answer to be the 2 seed, win 50 games as the new head coach of the Knicks. Coach of the Year, I don't know if it's narrative-based in basketball, but it's very narrative-based in football. So I think, media-wise, I think Mike Brown has a really good case. The other guy that I wrote down is David Adelman, where I could see, the Nuggets, breaking through with this bench unit. But for me personally, I feel like, I had to go with a high seed because you have to win a lot of games to win this award, or you have to drastically overachieve. So I obviously went with 2 of the higher seeds in my conference. I just think the bench is going to have more to do with Denver being a great regular season team, really, than it is Adelman. And, obviously Jokic's brilliance. And when I look at the Knicks, I think a lot of people are going to flock and be like, oh, Mike Brown has optimized the offense, and that's why they're so good, and this and that. And I just think, narrative-wise, he's probably the most confident that I'm in winning this award.
Interesting. The challenge with Coach of the Year is, if your team is already really good, it becomes hard to raise the bar to a point where you can actually be, the standout pick. Because most years, somebody is going to take, a legitimate big leap as a team, and then people will look at that coach. The last couple of years, it's been the coaches who took their promising young cores to be legitimately dominant. Kenny Atkinson, Dagnall. The year before that, it was Mike Brown revolutionizing the Kings offense, making them the number 1 unit in basketball, and all of a sudden they were winning 48 games, which they hadn't done since the Chris Webber days.
Then all of a sudden they were firing Mike Brown.
Right, correct. I just don't know that the Knicks are actually going to be better this year than last year, especially in terms of record. I like Mike Brown as an offensive mind. I think he is going to make this offense better with more ball movement, more player movement, more handoffs, more balance, more using Cat as a playmaking hub, more getting Brunson off ball. All of that stuff is going to make them a more varied and ultimately better attack. I just don't know that it actually leads to more regular season wins, and I think the same hardcore limitations that put a ceiling on the Knicks, that being really their major defensive flaws at the core of their roster, those are going to remain. And then with Adelman, he's an interesting pick. I think already we saw last year a totally different level of buy-in with him. The vibes were so bad towards the end of the Mike Malone, Calvin Booth era. All of that fell apart. And then Adelman was able to get the team to rally, play well down the stretch, have a good playoff run. Now they're more talented. I do think they're going to be an elite regular season team this year. I guess what stands out to me is it feels like most of the credit is going to go to Jokic, obviously, as it should, and really more of the front office. What Ben 10 have done for this team, getting Cam Johnson and now putting together a very competent bench. When I think about the key components for Denver being a dominant regular season team, again, maybe the most dominant regular season team they've been, I feel like Adelman is kind of down the list when you're dishing out credit there. So I'm going to go with a guy who I do think is going to be the coach of one of the most improved teams in basketball. I'm taking Quinn Snyder here. I am all in on the Hawks. I've been very open about that. I think that they are going to take a big leap this year. And I do also think that Snyder is a legitimately very good basketball coach. I think he's a really good offensive mind. I love the pace that he has this team playing with. It suits their style so well to be super up and down. They're very athletic. They get a lot of easy offense in transition. If you look back a couple years to the Nate McMillan era, this team really was playing a pretty slow pace, and it was a lot of Trae Young dribbling the air out of the ball in the half court. Now they have definitely increased their offensive efficiency by playing in the full court more. And I am somewhat optimistic about a little bit more offensive variety for the Hawks this year with more ball handlers, with maybe a little bit more movement from a Trae Young off ball enabled by that. Trae is who he is fundamentally, but I think that we might see a little bit of improvement there in terms of more versatility. And then I think the defense should be really good. I think they've put great personnel around Trae to cover up for him on that side of the ball. And I think Snyder knows how to get this team to maximize their strengths. I think they are going to lean in to what they do well around Trey offensively. I think they have put the right kind of personnel around him really on both sides of the ball to win the turnover margin, win the transition margin, and ultimately just be a pretty balanced, good all-around team. I think their player development is good. That's part of a coach of the year recognition, but like Shai really coming along as last year progressed. Dyson Daniels just won most improved player. Jalen Johnson has been in most improved player conversations for the last couple of years if he could stay healthy, and I think he might even be a little bit better and even more involved as a ball handler and playmaker this year. So they're just a young group that I love what they're doing, and they're trending upwards, and I think they're going to get the most out of this very well-built group and be a really good team that maybe catches some people by surprise. So when I think about most of the components, really good team success, legitimate leap, coach who is definitely a clear positive for the team and has them playing with a very good identity and scheme, I think Quinn Snyder checks all those boxes for me. But this is another award that's kind of tricky to predict preseason.
I think it's the hardest.
I think it's the hardest too. I think it's harder than most improved, because most improved you can see coming sometimes. Coach of the year, it's tricky. It's not impossible, but it's tricky to predict the exact winner. Those are all of our award picks, because I don't think we're making clutch player of the year predictions.
No.
That's actually literally the hardest, because it's based on like
7 games.
Sample of 100 minutes. Yeah. Like I could say Brunson because he won it last year, and I think that he's an amazing clutch player.
I'd say
but
Jokic.
It's kind of like, what's the point? I could say Jokic. I could say Shai. I don't know if the Thunder are going to be in enough really close games, though, for him to develop that reputation. Like, it's just too much of a small sample size award. And it's a new award, and it's a fake award, and we don't acknowledge it here at Nerd Sesh. We kind of do, but I'm not going to make a prediction for it. So let's go through our full standings, Logan. We have already given our initial record predictions for each team when we talked about them individually, but we also included the disclaimer that we're optimistic guys and we're lovers, not fighters. And we may overestimate the number of wins that we have to dish out. And then when it comes down to it, when we make our official predictions, we have to make sure the league has a 500 record. So we've both done that now. So, Logan, why don't you just run us down your Western Conference standings?
I've got the Thunder as my 1 seed, winning 63 games. The Rockets as my 2 seed, winning 55. Nuggets at 3, winning 54. Clippers at 4, winning 51. The Timberwolves in my 5 seed, winning 48. The Lakers in my 6 seed, winning 46. Warriors 7 at 45. Mavericks 8 at 43. Spurs at 500 at 9. The Grizzlies at 10, winning 40. Blazers 11 seed, 38. Kings 12 seed, 35. Suns 13 seed, 30. Pelicans 14 seed, 24. And the Jazz bringing up the rear with a whopping 20 wins.
I have the Thunder as my 1 seed, winning 64 games. It's going to be really interesting to see just how dominant the Thunder are this regular season, because they won 68 games and they had the second best net rating in NBA history. And then for every conceivable reason, they should be better this year. They should have just a little bit of internal development from the young guys. Chet certainly should be much healthier. Like, pretty much everything about this team should be better, and yet it's still really difficult to replicate a 68-win season no matter what, even though I think the Thunder are the best bet to be a team that consistently plays hard coming off of a title season that we have seen in forever, because they're so young and they're such a defensive-minded team and their energy is endless. But picking a team to win 65 games preseason like that, that's just a really high bar. So I've got them winning 64. I have the Nuggets winning 58, and then I have a drop. I have the Rockets as my 3 seed winning 52, Minnesota as my 4 seed winning 51, Clippers as my 5 seed winning 49, Warriors also winning 49. Then I have the Lakers as my 7 seed winning 47. I'm worried about the defense. I'm worried about LeBron's absence. I just don't think they're going to rack up a lot of regular season wins. Not a very balanced team whatsoever. And then I have the Mavs winning 45. I think they come out the gate slow but finish the year hot once they're fully healthy and Flagg is more comfortable and in the role that best suits him and Kyrie is back. So they could be a little bit dangerous, but they're not going to win a ton of regular season games. Then I have the Grizzlies and the Spurs in my play-in spots, both winning 41. I have the Blazers just outside winning 39. I would have loved to get them in the play-in because I think that defense is going to be so awesome. I'm really excited. I just think the offense is too flawed in a really tough Western Conference. Then I have the Kings winning 36. They are a guarantee to be mediocre. And so I think I dropped them by a couple wins just because it's like the ceiling is so low for them. I've got the Pelicans winning 30. I just worry so much about injuries. Suns winning 26, and I have the Jazz winning just 17. Even though the Walker Kessler preseason playmaking masterclass made me question that a little bit. Aces looked good. I think Lowry should have a bounce-back season. Nevertheless, the Jazz are still in full-on tank mode. They still are relying on a lot of really young players who are very far away, and I do think that they are going to flat-out suck. How about the East, Logan? Let's hear your full standings.
Cavs at top, winning 58. I have the Knicks as my 2 seed, winning 54. The Magic in my 3 seed, winning 49. Pistons, 4 seed, 48. Hawks, 5 seed, 45. The Bucks is my 6 seed, winning 42. Pacers is my 7 seed, going 500. The Raptors, 1 game below 500 as my 8 seed. Same with the Heat. Sixers in my 10 seed, going 38 and 44. Celtics, 12 seed, 34 and 48. The Hornets is my 13 seed, winning 27. The Wizards as my 14 seed, winning 14. And the Nets. Oh, you think it's ridiculous?
I want to hear what the Nets is. There's a team below 14?
Or no. The Wizards are my 14 seed, winning 24. I may have misspoke.
Oh.
That would be nuts. I have a little bit more faith in Cam Thomas and MPJ. That would be crazy.
Oh, okay.
And then the Nets is my 15 seed, winning 0 games. No, they're going to win 22.
Okay. Oh, man, I was really excited. I thought that we were going to get like a 2010 Nets
that would be
kind
crazy.
of prediction. The 12-win Nets. In my Eastern Conference, I have the Cavs running away with the 1 seed, winning 60 games. Then I have the Knicks winning 51. I have the Hawks as my 3 seed, winning 49. Gave them the tiebreaker over the Magic. Even though I have them both with the same record, I just believe in the Hawks' identity and balance a little bit more. I have the Pistons as my 5 seed, winning 46. I have the Bucks as my 6 seed, winning 45. Interestingly, one of the more fascinating and potentially depressing but potentially exciting teams in basketball, just because the roster around Giannis is so bad. But I am really intrigued by what he can do this year, and I think they end up being the 6th seed in this East. Then I have the Sixers winning 42. A lot of talent there. Major question marks. So this is where I land. Then I have the Heat winning 39. I have the Celtics also winning 39. They're in my 9 seed. They just miss out on the playoffs. Raptors winning 36. Pacers winning just 35 games out of the play-in entirely. R.I.P. Hallie, my GOAT. We can't wait to see you rise again. The eternally mediocre Bulls are a little bit worse this year even. I have them just winning 32, missing out on their most beloved play-in. Then I have the Hornets winning 27. I have the Wizards winning 20. I wanted to give them a little bit more of a bump just because it's like at some point they've got to start actually winning some games, and there's a lot of young guys who should be trending up a little bit, but there's just still very few players who I'm confident in actually being solid this year. So I do think that they're going to be definitely a bottom 3 team in the league again and by a decent margin. And then I have the Nets winning just 17 games. I think that the couple of guys who they do have who are like veterans with talent, certainly a Nick Claxton could be gone, and I don't think that Cam Thomas and MPJ are leading to even decent offense. I think they're both so flawed, and so combine that with all of the rookies and young guys that they're relying on, a lot of whom I actually do not like as talents, I think the Nets are going to be the worst team in basketball this year. So let's get into our playoff predictions, Logan. We'll breeze through these because they're all hypothetical matchups, but walk me through your first round in the West. Who do you have advancing?
So my 1-8 seed matchup is going to be the Thunder and Mavericks. I would take the Thunder in 6. I actually think the Mavericks would pose a pretty interesting matchup to Oklahoma City just with how physical and how big they are. I think they can match them athletically. I think the difference for me is just going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best player in the series. Just it's going to be able to carry the offense unlike anybody on Dallas can. You know, shout out Kyrie, shout out Coop, shout out D'Lo, shout out AD. But, you know, I think that Shai would go above and beyond. So I think it's a competitive 6 games, but I think the Thunder take it.
That's an interesting matchup, and I have the same one here. The size aspect for Dallas can be overwhelming. I mean, they could be so dominant on the glass. I think the defense is going to be really good. I just think it is totally offset by the potential speed deficiencies for this Dallas team going up against a Thunder team that plays so fast, that has so much quickness on the perimeter. I just don't think there is somebody to guard Shai in this matchup. And Shai is by far the best half-court offensive engine and best half-court offensive player in this series. And just the overall offensive formula for OKC, I trust a lot more because I know they're going to be great in transition, especially against a team that's trying to play two bigs. And then in the half court, I trust their spacing and shooting. And like for them, even though J-Dub isn't your perfect second creator, he is definitely a lot more proven than the second ball handler for Dallas, not to mention the gap between Shai and Kyrie. So yeah, I guess it's obvious because it's the Thunder and they're amazing. But I just have way too many concerns about the Mavs offense to actually pick them to pull off an upset like this, even though they are kind of a tricky, wonky matchup in an interesting way. Next series, what you got?
My 2-7 matchup is Rockets-Warriors. I'm going to take the Rockets to win this one in 7. I like a lot of what the Warriors have done in this offseason. I just think that Houston, in this hypothetical, adding Kevin Durant, I think they've got way too much size and athleticism for Golden State, and I just think Golden State's kind of going to get physically overwhelmed. It's competitive. I think it goes 7 games. I think Steph balls out, goes crazy. Jimmy, Dre do their thing. Like, they keep it close, but I would take Houston in a really competitive series.
So that's actually my 3-6 matchup. I think that would also be a hell of a dogfight. It'd be fun to have the rematch from last year. Ultimately, I do view Houston as the more improved team here because they added Kevin Durant, and I just think if they're able to produce pretty good half-court offense, even understanding that they're going to miss the fact that they don't have like a legitimate lead ball handling guard. Like, this offense is flawed, but I think they'll be good enough in the half court to where their overwhelming athleticism, their really elite depth, what they can do in transition, the elite defense, what they do on the glass, like, they're just going to create margin in so many ways. And the Warriors, even though I like what they've done in terms of their depth and role players, getting a couple vets, like, they're still ultimately just not as talented as the Rockets. And I think this would require like an above and beyond Steph series, because I don't think that you can be like, oh, Jimmy, you need to really elevate. I just don't think that he's doing that as an on-ball creator at this point in his career. So I'm going to go with the better team in Houston, even though I do think the Steph Curry factor of it all and what a nightmare it is to try to have to guard him and the crazy coverages you have to throw at him that can create wide open shots for his teammates. Like, if those teammates are capable and Steph is absolutely on fire, the Warriors could win this series, but it would be a very, very different ball game than last year because I think Amen will be better, Şengün will be better, the whole team is going to be better, and now they have a Kevin Durant who can cut through in those half-court rock fights in a way that nobody for their team could last year. Having that A-plus shot maker, like, that's going to make a massive difference. My 2-7, I have the Nuggets beating the Lakers. I just think the Nuggets are a much better team. I think that both of these teams have their flaws defensively, but I actually trust Denver a lot more to be a high IQ defensive unit that can put together an effective scheme and execute at a pretty solid level in the playoffs. We've seen that from them. I think that the Lakers have some like straight up leaky holes when it comes to their defensive backcourt being so bad. They just don't have plus defenders in significant roles like at all. And that's not the case for Denver. Denver has some good wing defenders. They have a Nikola Jokic who brings the elite defensive rebounding and IQ in the hands, at least when he's engaged, and does some good stuff for you there. And then offensively, I also just prefer Denver's formula. Even though I think Lakers are going to be an elite offense, Denver has the most unstoppable offensive player on the planet. I think that they just have more movement, more variety in terms of their offensive attack. Whereas the Lakers, I still worry a little bit about, okay, if you face a really good switching defense, does it look something like what we saw against Minnesota last year where they can kind of stagnate and they can become a little too ISO heavy and too reliant on the tough shot making from Luka and LeBron. Now, the Nuggets are not that switching defense, but I just prefer their offensive formula all the same. I think they're going to be the best offense in basketball.
Yeah, this is my 3-6 matchup. I have the Nuggets in 6. I think Jokic rips through Ayton like tissue paper.
He certainly would. Need we remind everybody of the 2023 series, what he did to DeAndre Ayton and company for the Phoenix Suns? It was absolutely ridiculous. But, Logan, when the Suns held him to 53 and 9 assists on like 70% shooting,
Was it?
They actually
50,
figured
I thought
him
it was
out.
like 53 and 11. I may be tripping.
Maybe it was 11. It was either 9 or 11. Not together. It was one or the other. Okay, and then your 4-5 matchup. This is so funny, Logan. We don't have the exact same seeding, but we do have all of the same first-round matchups. You've got the Clippers hosting the T-Wolves. What's your prediction?
Yeah, 53 and 11, man. Ridiculous.
Insane. But they made him a score, and they actually won the game because of that.
True. I have got Clips T-Wolves. I like the Clippers a lot, but I'm going to take the Wolves in 7. I think this is probably the most competitive series. I think the Wolves are just going to beat up on the old guys. That's my prediction if we got this. I think that the youth, the athleticism, the strength, the size. Clippers, let's face it, I hate beating a dead horse. They're probably not going to be healthy come playoff time. Timberwolves take advantage. Their young legs carry them through. Anthony Edwards is the best player in the series. So I think it's competitive. I respect the hell out of the Clippers. I think they are a really deep basketball team, but I think when it's all said and done, I'm going to count on the youth and the athleticism. So I'll take the Wolves in 7.
I really wanted to pick the Clippers to win this series. There's so much about the Clippers formula that I like on paper. I think they're such a balanced, high-level two-way team. I think that they've addressed getting more ball handling. They've got more front court depth now. They're just like a super well-rounded, talented basketball team. But I do still have concerns about a playoff series when it comes to the key guys holding up physically, and I think this is a tough matchup for James Harden. It's nice that he doesn't also have to go through an Gilgeous-Alexander Walker, but this Minnesota perimeter defense is still going to be pretty ferocious and physical, and that just doesn't bode well for James Harden consistently asserting himself in a playoff series. And then I think that Ant might be able to kind of destroy Zoo because he's so confined to traditional drop coverage, and if Ant is who he's capable of being as a pull-up shooter, that's a problem. So even though I worry a lot about the Minnesota guard situation, and even though I think LA probably has the more complete roster, I just worry a lot about what we're going to get from their stars in a playoff run. And you know that the physicality is going to translate with Minnesota. The defense is going to translate. Ant is going to translate. They have more versatility still, in my opinion, even though both these teams have very good depth. There's more different looks that the Timberwolves can actually give you. So, yeah, I'm going to take them as well, but this would be a 7-game really close series. Okay, out east, what are your first-round predictions?
My first round is pretty simple, or at least my first matchup. I've got Cavs, Raptors. I like the Raptors' regular season formula with all just the accumulation of talent, but I think when you look in a playoff series, having Barrett, Barnes, and Pirtle on the floor is really detrimental to team offense. I think it's going to be clunky, it's going to be wonky, and I think Cleveland just puts up points way easier than Toronto does. So Toronto gets a game, but Cavs take them down in 5.
I will take the Cavs to obliterate the Heat again. Same as last year. I just think their offensive formula is so ridiculous. And although I sneaky like the Heat this year, and I'm optimistic about Jokic and Khalil Ware, and I like Davion Mitchell, and I like Wiggins, like I think the Heat are a very solid team, but the Cavs offense is just an absolute machine. And so, yeah, I think that they would absolutely destroy them. Okay, what's your next matchup?
I have got Knicks, Pacers in a rematch. Pacers are feisty. Maybe Hallie's back by this point, but I doubt he's going to look 100%. I'm going to take the Knicks in 6. I think Indiana does some stuff to gimmick it up to make life hard on them, but I think the Knicks' talent just overwhelms them a bit. And to be clear, I don't expect Hallie to be back, but even if he is, I don't think he's going to be at the level he needs to be at to be a major difference maker in the playoffs.
I don't think we're going to see him. It's interesting. Our Western standings predictions, they were so similar. We had all the same first-round matchups. Our Eastern Conference standing predictions are more different. So I have the Knicks taking on the Sixers. And I'll tell you what, Logan, this is also a rematch from 2 years ago. This would be really interesting if Joel Embiid looks like himself. To the extent that, like I have said, the Sixers' absolute ceiling is higher. I think that that's true.
Yawn.
Okay, man. That's fine. God forbid I try to make this first-round Eastern Conference matchup a little bit interesting.
I'm just done being optimistic on Philadelphia, man.
I'm not optimistic. But I think also you're very pessimistic, which is probably reasonable considering how every year has ended for the Sixers. And I don't think that we're really going to see a PG bounce back. And Embiid looked bad when he was on the court last year. But
I think
if
the
you
path
can
is
get
Maxey,
Embiid back,
Edgecombe, and McCain look fucking nasty.
well, this is
along
what I'm
with
saying.
a
The guard
decently healthy
creation
Embiid.
is legitimately impressive. The group of wings overall is legit. PG, you just need to play a role.
Real
He
athleticism.
can do that.
Real athleticism.
Real
on the squad.
athleticism. And then Embiid, even if he's not at his best, he can be very impactful as a rim protector. And offensively, I still think that, like, he is going to demand a shit ton of attention from defenses. So that's where we've seen, even in some of these playoff series where his shot making is off, like the on-off differential, the swings there, he's still having a significant impact on the game for Philly. So all I'm saying is if you put together an impressive guard rotation that has some offensive pop for real, and you put together a nice group of athletic wings, and then you've got a Joel Embiid who could play at like a top 10 kind of level, I think that they are less fundamentally flawed than the Knicks, who have these major, major defensive issues. And I think that they could have the best player in the series because I think healthy Joel Embiid is clearly better than Jalen Brunson. Now, am I predicting this to happen? No. I have the Knicks winning this series because realistically, Embiid is probably not going to be healthy. And if he is out there, he'll probably be playing at like 70%, and he'll probably have a lot of the same playoff issues that he's had before. And if he's not really good, then I don't think that the Sixers can win this series. All I'm saying is the potential is there for an interesting Philly upset. And they're just going to be one of like the craziest teams to watch this year because the range of outcomes is so wide. It could be disaster. Very well could be disaster. But it could also be fun, and they could be kind of a scary team to see come playoffs. What's your next matchup here, Logan?
I've got the Magic taking on the Bucks. This is interesting just because of the Giannis component. I'm going to take the Magic in 7. I think that Milwaukee sucks around Giannis. That being said, I think Orlando has I think Giannis is going to dominate enough to get them to 7, but I think Orlando's margin's just going to be big enough. I think Orlando's got really good personnel to match up with Giannis in terms of size and strength. They've just got a lot of big bodies to throw at him, and I think it's going to be mucked up and kind of nasty for both of these teams, but with the addition of Desmond Bane, I marginally prefer Orlando's offense. So if everybody's healthy, I would take Orlando. If Bane is out, though, I would definitely give Milwaukee an opportunity. That would make the series muggy enough where if you could induce a Paolo off pull-up shooting series, which hasn't happened thus far in his playoff career. He's been the pull-up GOAT in the few series that we have seen him in. But that would be enough for me to take Milwaukee. I would take Orlando in 7 fully healthy, though.
Yeah, unless you're planning on doing something to Desmond Bane, Logan, I think we got to presume health for him. Oh? Are you mewing, or are you telling me to be quiet because you're planning insidious things for him? Either way, I'm intrigued. I have kind of a similar vibe. Atlanta hosting the Bucks, and I do have them winning. But I do think that this would be a really close series just because I have that much respect for Giannis. And I think that if you just put shooting around him, we saw him do some insanely impressive stuff last year without Damian Lillard on the floor, still leading to really good team offensive results. But ultimately, I do think the lack of ball handling around him, the very uninspiring defensive personnel, like they're just so reliant on him on both sides of the ball. And the Hawks are just a much more complete team. Now, I don't think that they have any individual who can defend Giannis, but I do think that they have a lot of like pretty big athletes who they can throw at him if it's a Jalen Johnson, if it's an Onyeka. And I think that overall they have the length and the speed and the activity defensively to play aggressively in gaps and send a lot of extra attention his way and ultimately recover with their speed and try to force other players to beat them, not just with wide open catch and shoot jumpers, force them to make plays off the dribble. And I just don't think the guys around him can do that enough to win a series. But the formula of Giannis potentially averaging like 35, 15, and 7 on 63% true shooting and also being a good defender and making Milwaukee respectable on that side of the ball, like that's there. And that's why I don't think that they're going to get crushed by anybody in the first round. I just think Atlanta has way more dudes who I trust in a playoff series. So I'm going to take them because of that. Last matchup in the first round, what do you got?
I've got Atlanta taking on Detroit. Detroit is hosting this series. This is the one upset I will pick. I'm going to take the Hawks in 7 in this one. I love Detroit. I like a lot of what they did this offseason, some of the additions that they made. This one's really close to me. This is the closest first-round series to me, Detroit and Atlanta. I'm going to take Atlanta because I barely prefer their offense, but I like Detroit a lot, man. I like their defense. I like Cade a lot. I think they've got better shooting on the wings. I barely prefer Atlanta's half-court offense, and that's going to be enough to give them the edge for me.
I am going to take the Magic to beat the Pistons in my 4-5 matchup. This is going to be an ugly series if we get it. These are two teams that still have a lot that they need to figure out offensively. Both teams are introducing a piece who could potentially help them do so. The Pistons getting back Jaden Ivey, although they were better without him last year, but just having another ball handler who's got some juice. And then obviously the Magic with their huge addition of Desmond Bane. Ultimately, I think that the Magic just have more creators flat out, even though Paolo and Franz are flawed. They have more dudes who can make plays with the ball in their hands. They have enough shooting overall now, and I do think they're a better team defense, and they've got some real quality guys that they can throw at a Cade Cunningham. I think that Suggs is a good matchup. I think that Franz in stretches can take on that matchup. They're just a team that has a lot of big, athletic, feisty dudes defensively, and I think ultimately both these teams have relatively similar formulas for success in the sense that it's like we're hanging our hat on our defense and we're just going to try to be okay enough offensively. But I do think the Magic are the better defense and they have more high-level offensive players, even though I still think both of these teams are going to run into some big offensive issues in the playoffs. Let's move on to the second round, Logan. Back out west. What you got?
I've got Thunder Timberwolves. I would take the Thunder in 6 in this when we previewed this series a little bit when we had Jason on, and I think he summed up the difference pretty well. I think the difference would be Shai would be better than Ant in that series. Minnesota, I think, like Dallas, would pose a lot of interesting problems to Oklahoma City. Big, physical, strong, athletic team. But we saw this matchup in the playoffs last year. They were able to disrupt Julius Randle, really throw him off his game. I think they can make life hard on anybody. And unless Ant really develops that intermediate mid-range area, becomes an even better playmaker, unless we see significant leaps in those areas, I would be very, very confident in taking OKC. So I would take the Thunder in 6 in this matchup.
OKC's a lot better, but even beyond that, as good as Jaden McDaniels is, he is not a particularly good Shai defender. He got absolutely shredded in this matchup last year. I think we saw him consistently picking him up too high and just getting dusted off the bounce.
I was just going to ask, what archetype do you think is best for Shai? Somebody who's stronger, somebody who's a quicker guard with quicker feet. You can't guard him.
It's not easy to guard Shai, yeah. But I would say probably the best Shai defender who I've seen off the top of my head is Herb
Jalen
Jones.
Clark.
Well, actually, they do have Jalen Clark on this team, and we'll see if he takes on that matchup, or a little bit more at least. But it's not necessarily that Jaden is in the wrong archetype. I mean, I think that you need to have elite length. I think that you need to be a really good athlete. I think that you need to have good size. But it ultimately comes down to him just not executing well enough. Again, some of these mental errors where Shai is able to pretty easily get to his spots against him, I would say I'd like to see a little bit more physicality, but obviously you have to walk that very fine line of not fouling in those circumstances. And I don't know, Jaden would have to figure out a lot in terms of how he's going to guard Shai to make a meaningful difference next time around. And then on the other side of the ball, I just think OKC is an absolute nightmare matchup for Julius Randle. He can't attack mismatches against them. Just totally was a mess in that series last year, and I would expect that to some extent to remain the case. And I think that the lack of ball handling around Ant is so difficult in this matchup against OKC. I think you always want multiple guys who can take on those responsibilities because they just wear you down so much, and they're so aggressive and they have so much speed and physicality. I don't think that Minnesota really checks any of the boxes to beat the Thunder. So I would very confidently pick OKC to win that matchup. Then we've got Nuggets, Rockets. For you, the Rockets are the high seed. For me, it's Denver. What's your prediction here?
I would take the Nuggets in 7. I'm super excited for this if we get it. Like, I think it's going to be an awesome series, just the clash of play styles, really. All these big, physical, young athletes on the Rockets, this slowed down, methodical Nuggets offense that's just going to manufacture great looks. I think it goes the distance. I think it's very balanced, but I would take the Nuggets and the best player in the world to finish it off in 7.
I am going to take the Nuggets as well. I just trust their half-court offensive formula more. That's what it comes down to. I think that they are going to be a relentless machine there. And as good as I think Houston's defense is, I don't know how uncomfortable they can make a Nikola Jokic. I think that they would have to get pretty unconventional with their formula there. And I just don't know that they can replicate like the OKC level of fronting, smaller dudes being super physical, like rotating and doubling with insane speed. Because obviously, like, Jokic would absolutely destroy Şengün one-on-one, and then it's like maybe they try to get crafty and guard him with a man in stretches, kind of trying to recreate what OKC was able to do with Caruso and Jada. But as amazing as Amen is, and I love him, I just don't think that he's that kind of post-up irritant. He doesn't quite have that strength and like low center gravity. We just haven't seen him do that. So maybe they try throwing like a DFS on him and they're just doubling instantly every touch. I think regardless, they're going to probably put some wing bodies on him and they're going to try to use all of like their wing length, speed, athleticism to bother him a bit. Maybe we see them go double big and be like, okay, now you have to go through Steven Adams with Şengün roaming. I just think no matter what, like, they are a very good defense, but they can't execute whatever kind of gimmick they're going to rely on at like a genuinely difference-making level. And regardless, I do think it's going to be kind of gimmicky, and Jokic probably figures it out more over the course of a series. It's just hard for me to see them disrupting the Denver offense enough. And then I think that the Houston offense is flawed enough in the half court where they just won't be quite as consistent. And I think that Denver capitalizes. So I have them advancing as well. Let's move out east. What's your first, second round prediction?
Cavs, Hawks, Cavs in 6.
I have the Cavs beating the Magic. Orlando is just not consistent enough, dependable enough offensively. Cleveland has more dynamic creation. They have more play finishers. They have more shooting. They play with a lot more pace. Like, they're just in a totally different tier there, and they can at least be pretty good defensively. So they're just a much better team, in my opinion. Next matchup, what you got?
I've got Knicks Magic. I'd take the Knicks in 6. I think Orlando would have a chance in this series, but it hinges to me on Paolo and Franz being at the level they need to be at. And I don't know. I still feel like they're probably going to be a year away. I don't know. We could see a leap if they improve, if Paolo's getting downhill more, really weaponizing that physicality. The Orlando offense is humming. Franz is hitting threes. I would give Orlando a shot. Like, I just haven't seen it, so like I'll monitor Orlando's offense as the year goes along. I think that it all hinges on how great that offense can be, but I still think the Knicks offense is just going to be one of the best in the league. So I would take New York in 6.
I am going to take the Atlanta Hawks to beat the Knicks and advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. No excitement from you, Logan? No, wow! I got the Hawks going to the conference finals, man. I'm all in on the ATL. Ludicrous. Chicken and beer, baby. ATL, stand up.
Something about Porzingis, man. I don't know.
You're worried?
I am. I'm very.
I understand, because I do think that their formula is contingent upon him staying healthy. But when I look at the Hawks, I think they're a less flawed team than the Knicks. And I think that they are going to be able to get a lot more easy offense in transition. We'll see how much more pace the Knicks play with last year, but I do think that's been a limitation for their playoff offense, being such like a kind of grinded out, slow, half-court group. I think Mike Brown is going to try to inject more pace into this group, but Atlanta is already elite there. I like their depth more. I think that they've got really good personnel to guard Brunson. They've got multiple guys who they can throw at him. Dyson Daniels, Gilgeous-Alexander Walker, by the way, somebody who we have to mention when you ask me about the best Shai defenders, who also Minnesota will miss because he did a lot better in that matchup than Jaden McDaniels did last year. They've got a bunch of athletes on the wings who fly around overall. And I think that KP, when he's healthy, is a really difficult matchup for this team. I think his ability to consistently bring Cat out into space, I think that there's a lot of mismatch attacking opportunities for him here. The Knicks are not the sort of defense that I think is able to switch, and that's kind of been the best counter for Trae Young. So I think he's going to see some more conventional coverages, which he is really damn good at picking apart. So I think that they check a lot of boxes to win this series. Now, the counterpoint would be Jalen Brunson is absolutely a more consistent, reliable playoff offensive engine than Trae Young. And I don't disagree with that. But I do think that Brunson is the one who was walking in to the tougher matchup here. And I think that there is more two-way support significantly in Atlanta. And there's more ability to win on the margins and win with athleticism. And there's more quality basketball players here who I believe in. And I think that Trae would hold up pretty well in this series because I don't think it's a tough matchup for him.
It's a bold take.
Thanks, man.
I mean, the Hawks are very talented.
They are.
There's just a level of ease of offense that I have with the Knicks that, like, I think Atlanta's offense is going to be really good, but when I think about them, I don't think KP's going to be healthy. He just hasn't been the past two times we've seen him in the playoffs. And then beyond that, I worry about, like, Dyson, like, playing a bigger role maybe offensively in the play. Like, then it, like, stresses everybody else to step up. I like what the Hawks have. And there is a chance. But I think the Knicks would have to have somebody missing or something for me to take Atlanta in this matchup.
I just like the totality of the roster when you actually get to the playoffs more. I think that the Knicks offense will carry them through to be a slightly more successful regular season team. I think maybe the Hawks do deal with a little bit more injury stuff just with KP's
The Trae thing is interesting,
concerns.
though, man. Because it's like, if they can get those bigs out in space, like with Cat and Robinson, that to me is advantage Atlanta.
I think there's a lot of things that are advantage Atlanta where they just have more buttons that they can press. The Knicks are more confined to trying to win in one specific way that is so reliant on Brunson. And again, maybe there's a little bit more variety with the offense this year. I think that there will be, but they're not overcoming like their fundamental major defensive limitations. They're not just going to suddenly be able to work around like the major wonkiness of Josh Hart as a half-court offensive player and the totally up and down production that you're getting from Mikal Bridges offensively because he's so reliant on his tough shot making. And maybe they just look like a more cohesive offensive unit and they're more legitimately elite there in a playoff run, and that's why New York wins this series. But I see a lot of bodies, a lot of really good defenders for them to throw at Jalen Brunson. Maybe I shouldn't say a lot, but like a couple of really good primary matchups and then a couple other guys who are good athletic wings who can hold up on a switch. And I just think they're a more complementary basketball team. Maybe I'm putting a little bit too much faith in Shai and Jalen Johnson and Dyson Daniels, and I can see these guys running into issues in terms of half-court offense in a playoff series. Like, Shai has got to keep shooting it like he was last year. Jalen Johnson, I would like to see shoot it a little bit better off the catch. Same goes for Dyson Daniels, and so maybe it ends up being that you can kind of help off of those guys, and they are still playing with the ball in Trae's hands overwhelmingly, and so it's just a little bit easier to be super aggressive with your coverages towards him, and the guys around him can't make you pay. But I do like Jalen Johnson as a ball handler and a playmaker and a versatile offensive piece. I really like Shai's off-ball feel as a cutter, and I like his shooting. Dyson, I think, does inject a little bit of ball handling and playmaking here, and I just feel more confident in everybody like executing their role pretty well here. I just like how this team is built more, and so I'm kind of all in on the Hawks' identity. I just feel like they check more boxes than a team like New York does when it comes to what I want in terms of winning a playoff series. But yes, there's always the best player in the series factor. There's no doubt more questions about Trey's playoff offense because we've seen him have some struggles before. I'm just going to be optimistic on that front, and I'm going to say the Knicks are not the team that can make him uncomfortable. They're not the team that can make Atlanta uncomfortable overall, and I'm going to bet on the more balanced two-way team here. So I do have the Hawks going to the conference finals. They're like the team that I feel like I'm most in on probably relative to the consensus this year. I'm really excited to see what they do. Maybe it's a year early. There's still some growth probably to take place with some of these wings, but I do think that they're a really good group. So I have them in the conference finals, but we'll start out west, Logan, as we make our conference finals predictions. We've both got Thunder Nuggets. Who do you have advancing?
If you guys want the full breakdown on this, I mean, we did an hour with Jason on Thunder Nuggets, so you can check that out. I've got the Thunder in 7.
Yeah, I've got the Thunder advancing as well. I just think that they can do a lot to make Denver's offense uncomfortable in a way that nobody else in the league can. I think that we saw that last year when they held them to a 104 offensive rating in that series. And even though the Denver roster is better now, the bench minutes will be better. Cam Johnson is better than MPJ. Still worry about Christian Brown's utility offensively in a series like this. Still worry about Jamal Murray having to deal with a shit ton of hellacious perimeter defenders. And I still think that this is a really difficult matchup for Nikola Jokic. And then when I look at the Thunder side, I think that Chet will play better than he did in this matchup last year. I think Jada will play better. I think they'll shoot better. I think Shai, throughout another playoff run, I would expect to be more consistent as a playmaker, more consistent probably in terms of actually getting the 3-ball going. And so I think that this would be really close. I think it's best offense for Denver against best defense for OKC. But I think that OKC is going to be pretty comfortable against Denver's defense, and I think they're going to be able to take Denver's offense out of rhythm enough to still emerge in this series because they've got an all-time great defense, and they've got a truly great offensive engine in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. How about out east, Logan?
So I've got Cavs, Knicks. I'm going to take the Cavs. I think they are by far the better two-way team. And the Knicks just, to me, aren't the team that's going to be able to exploit the Cavs' weakness. I think it's that defensive backcourt, and I don't really think that they have a ton that can really expose that. The Cavs, to me, have much more supreme depth. I love the addition of Lonzo Ball. I like a lot of the guys that they can bring off the bench, if it's Lonzo, if it's Dean Wade, if it's Max Strus. I think they've got a lot of talent, and they're deeper. They're a better two-way team, and I think the Cavs could really cause some problems. You know, we didn't see this as much against Boston. You know, we're talking about it with Atlanta. I think you get Mitch and Cat out in space against Garland and Mitchell, and I really think those guys can put in some work against the bigs and manufacture some really high shot quality. Also, there's a chance that Evan Mobley gets better this year and is just even more impactful offensively. So the Cavs just, they have the higher floor, and I think they have the higher ceiling. I think they get it done in 6 and go to the NBA Finals.
I have the Cavs taking on the Hawks, and I'm going to take Cleveland to advance as well. This is an interesting matchup, though, and it's an interesting matchup because when you look at the point of attack defense for Cleveland, there is definitely an opportunity for a very comfortable Trey series there. When you look at potential mismatch attacking opportunities with the small backcourt, there's some potential for maybe a KP to feast there. Ultimately, what I think we would see some of in this series from Cleveland is more Mobley at the 5 and more Lonzo on the court so that they are faster, they're more athletic, they have a legitimate high-end point of attack defender on the floor in Lonzo, and there's just more ways to cover up for the potential defensive weak points that they do have on this team. And then I think that their offense is still significantly more dynamic. That's really what it comes down to. I'm optimistic about the half-court offense for Atlanta, but I do acknowledge its flaws, whereas the Cleveland offense is pretty much flawless. I mean, the shooting that they have in totality, the ball handling that they have, the pace that they play with, the pick-and-roll genius, the legitimately awesome contributions they're getting from these versatile bigs, the single big looks that they can go with, Mobley at the 5, or Allen at the 5, or the double big, like, they're just a significantly more explosive offensive team still, and they are definitely good enough defensively to come away with a win in this series. I think it would be a fun matchup, but I just have to go with the more talented, more sure thing, and that is absolutely the Cavs here. So we've both got Thunder Cavs as our final predictions, Logan. Who are you taking to win it all?
I'm going to take OKC. I would take them in 6 games. I think this is where a team could exploit the defensive backcourt of Cleveland. And honestly, I think I'm taking whoever comes out of the West. If it was OKC or Denver, I think I'd take them. Houston, I would think a little bit against Cleveland. That matchup intrigues me. I still think I lean Houston a little bit. So unfortunately, I think I was going to take Cleveland to drop in the NBA Finals no matter who they matched up against. But against them, I just think they have a field day with that backcourt for Cleveland. So I think Cleveland has some good games. This offense clicks some nights. OKC has an off-shooting night or something like that, and they steal a game or two. But OKC gets it done in 6.
I would love to see this finals matchup. I really would. These are two awesome teams. These are two, still in the scheme of things, pretty young teams when you're talking about them being as great as they are for OKC and were this past regular season for the Cavs. And I do think that the Cavs got so much bad luck in their playoff run. They're going to be a significantly better playoff team this time around, and it is an easier East too, but I think healthy Garland is such a weapon. I do think Mobley will be even a little bit better, and they'll just be healthier. Lonzo is such a great addition for them, although his health is very, very fair to question. We'll see if he can hold up. But OKC is just too good. I think that as great as the Cleveland offense is, and they would be my pick to be the second best offense in basketball this year, only after Denver, OKC takes a significant chunk out of your offensive production and efficiency no matter who you are. And as awesome as Mitchell and Garland are, them having to go up against the number of insane perimeter defenders that you have in OKC, and particularly the physicality of it all and the athleticism, I worry that could take Garland out of his element a little bit in this series. And then on the other side of the floor, I do think that he'll struggle defensively. So ultimately, I just don't think that Cleveland has the point of attack defense necessary to make OKC and specifically Shai uncomfortable. And I think that OKC is going to be able to make Cleveland uncomfortable enough to get away with this win. And I know I've said that a couple times, but that's just what it comes down to. I mean, when we look at these like best offense matchups, Denver, Cleveland versus the best defense in basketball, OKC's defense is the superpower. It is the standout unit. But I do think that offense is on average more important than defense when it comes to like making a deep playoff push. The thing is, OKC's offense is also really good, whereas Cleveland's defense is good but fundamentally flawed. Denver's defense, I think, will be solid but is fundamentally flawed and limited in some of these ways. OKC, if you get the best version of Shai, and if you get a version of J-Dub who is playing more like he did late in the playoffs last year, where he's consistently downhill, and if his shot making is just pretty solid in terms of his consistency, and then you get a version of Chet who's a little more comfortable handling and shooting, and overall the team just shoots decently well, it's like they're just by far the best. I said this on the show with Jason, but regular season, they were a 93rd percentile half-court offense. In the playoffs, they were only a 56th percentile half-court offense, and they still won it all. The margin they create with turnovers, with their insane defense, with their transition scoring, it's so crazy high. And then they also have a guy who's a half-court surgeon, and they have a group that can be an elite half-court and overall offense around him. So it doesn't so much come down to the particulars of any of these matchups. It pretty much just comes down to, I think OKC is better than everyone. I think OKC's formula of all-time defense plus Shai plus more steady offensive production around him this year than last year is going to beat anybody. That's my prediction. They're not invincible. That's just the formula that I trust above any else.
By far. By far.
There you have it, man. I am so excited for this NBA season to get started, Logan. And we will see you guys so soon. We're going to be live Tuesday night after we have these couple of tip-off games. We've got Thunder Rockets, and then we've got Lakers Warriors. We'll give our takeaways from that. Thursday, we will have a reaction to the real full opening day where we see just about everybody else play on Wednesday, and then we'll go from there. And we will have so much content talking about so much basketball this year because it's just the freaking best, man. It's just an absolute joy. I can't wait to watch the Atlanta Hawks, Logan. And I hope they don't break my little heart. And I hope that they look good. And I can't wait to watch the new look Denver Nuggets. I can't wait to watch the Rockets.
Facts.
I can't wait to see Cooper Flagg out there. Holy crap. It's going to be an awesome NBA season.
I'm aroused.
And it's everywhere. And it's all over my screen.
And we'll be back tomorrow night to yap about some basketball.
And it hurts.
Whoa.
And why does it hurt? And I thought it was supposed to feel good, but now it hurts.
And it's lasted longer than 4 hours.
And it's supposed to be straight, but it's bent. Why is
Hell
it bent?
Yeah. Congrats, dude.
Why is it bruised? Why is it curved like Dooku's saber? Huh. Maybe I should see a doctor? Maybe I should stop taking Tremfya?
What?
Maybe I should consult a medical professional? Okay.
Yeah.
You would know better than me if that's what you say.
I think that's normal. I think you're good.
And this is a basketball podcast? And this is a podcast where guys talk about the NBA and the NFL? But now they're talking about
mostly balls.
Viagra usage gone wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, God forbid a man have multiple interests and passions in this life, Logan.
I'm really hoping Nikola Topic is all right, man. If we could have a moment of silence for Nikola Topic's balls.
Thank you, everybody.
That was beautiful.
You. That's going to be my highlight of this season, when Nikola Topic sets foot on the court again, and we know that everything is safe and sound with his balls. Can't wait for that moment. Mm-hmm. Everything else is secondary to that. We hope you guys will join us for this NBA journey this year, and we will see you very soon. And, of course, don't forget about the NFL if that's your vibe as well. I mean, we just reacted to Week 7. You know that we're going to be back live again Sunday night with NFL stuff. Oh, it's wonderful when you get to fall and both of these lovely leagues are going on at once. And if you want all of our content, yes, all of our full episodes are on YouTube, along with some video essays and video breakdowns, and all our full episodes are across all audio platforms. But you can also follow us across social, TikTok and Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh to see clips from the show, graphics from the show, all of our fun daily trivia content. And if you want, you can join our Discord to chat with the gang over there. That is linked at the link tree across our social media bios. So with that, as always, appreciate you guys so much, and I cannot wait for this NBA season to get going. I've been Carson Brabber.
I have been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.